Rain splattered against the windows of the small walk-up apartment in Brooklyn, a cold, merciless kind of rain that made you feel like the sky was punishing you. Claire Hughes sighed and leaned against her chipped kitchen counter, warming her hands on a mug of instant coffee. Life hadn't exactly turned out the way she'd planned. At 32, she was single, exhausted, and barely holding on to her job as a project coordinator at Holbrook Tech. The rent kept climbing, her savings were nearly gone, and to top it off, her team had just been informed their new CEO would be arriving this week, another likely corporate stiff who wouldn't understand what it meant to live paycheck to paycheck. She stared out the window when something caught her eye. Across the street, a man and a little girl stood under a bus shelter, soaked to the bone. The man held a small duffel bag, shielding the girl with his jacket. The child looked no older than 7, clutching a worn stuffed elephant, shivering. Claire hesitated for only a second before grabbing her umbrella and heading out into the storm. "You two okay?" she asked, her voice raised over the wind. The man looked startled. "We missed the shelter cutoff. It's full tonight." Claire looked at the girl again. Her lips were purple, and she was clearly fighting to stay awake. "Come inside," Claire said, without thinking. "Just for the night. You can dry off, eat something warm." The man blinked in disbelief. "Are you sure?" Claire smiled. "Positive. I'm not going to let your daughter freeze." Inside, she handed the man a towel and offered the girl, whose name was Lily, one of her old sweaters. Claire made grilled cheese, opened a can of tomato soup, and let them warm by the heater. The man, whose name was Jack, explained they had been living out of his car for weeks. He'd lost his job due to a factory closure. He'd tried every shelter in the city that night. "I just want to keep her safe," Jack said quietly as Lily slept on Claire's couch. "I don't care about anything else anymore." Claire felt her heart twist. They talked for hours. Jack was soft-spoken, intelligent, a former logistics manager who had taken a leave of absence when Lily's mom passed away. He had spent his savings trying to keep them afloat but had fallen through the cracks. Claire listened, moved by how deeply he loved his daughter, by how hard he was trying to stay afloat in a world that didn't make room for people like him. He thanked her a dozen times before falling asleep in the armchair. By morning, the storm had passed. Claire packed Jack some food and gave Lily one of her scarves. "You'll be okay," she told them. "Something good is coming for you. I can feel it." She didn't expect to ever see them again. 3 days later, Holbrook Tech was buzzing. Employees crowded near the conference room, murmuring and straightening ties. Claire tucked her coffee under her arm and tried to fix her frizzed hair, only half interested in the announcement. When the door finally opened, and the new CEO stepped in, her cup fell from her hands and shattered on the floor. Jack. Dressed in a tailored suit, cleaned up and confident, but there was no mistaking it. It was the man she'd taken in, the man who had slept in her armchair. Jack's eyes landed on her, and a slow smile spread across his face. The room fell silent. "Before I begin," he said, "I want to thank someone in this room. Someone who reminded me that humanity still exists in this cold world." Claire stood frozen. 3 nights ago, when I was at my lowest, this woman welcomed my daughter and me into her home. With no idea who I was. No expectations. Just kindness. A wave of stunned gasps rippled through the room. Jack continued, "You see, I was interviewing for this role in secret. I didn't want preferential treatment. I wanted to know the company from the ground up. And life had other plans. That night changed everything." He walked over to Claire and looked at her, tears shining in his eyes. "Claire Hughes, you didn't just offer me shelter. You offered me dignity. And that's the kind of heart I want shaping this company." He turned to the room. "Effective immediately, Claire is being promoted to Director of Community Engagement. Because if we're going to build something great, it needs to start with compassion. Claire felt her knees buckle slightly as the room erupted into applause. Later, in his office, sleek but warm, with a photo of Lily on the desk, Jack handed her a cup of coffee. Real coffee, not instant. I've never believed in fate, Claire said quietly, looking out over the city skyline. But that night, it felt like more than coincidence. Jack nodded. It was a test. For both of us. That night changed 3 lives. Lily got a warm home again. Jack found his footing, and a renewed purpose as a leader. And Claire? She found that sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can open doors you never knew existed. Because kindness isn't just about helping others. It's about becoming the kind of person this world desperately needs.